What you're about to watch is a full review of my third ever flight with Vietnam Airlines. It's more of a trip report, really, but nonetheless, it's going to be a really good primer for those of you who may be on the fence about giving them a try. In summary, I think you're going to want to do this. Good morning from Terminal 1 at Narita Airport, just outside of Tokyo. My name is Scott, and I'm taking a much-needed break from writing airline reviews over on SANspotter.com so that I can fly to Vietnam on Vietnam Airlines. It's going to be Boeing 7879 business class to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, with a scheduled flying time of 5 hours and 40 minutes. Now, having flown Vietnam Airlines several times already, I think twice is the exact number, I already knew that this was going to be a pretty good time. I also assumed that it was going to be exactly like the A350 business class experience, which is great, but that assumption ended up being just a little bit wrong. Their 7879 business class experience is completely different, not in a bad way, just different, as you're about to see. But, anyway, it is a very early 6:40 a.m., and I am ready to go. Unfortunately, Vietnam Airlines isn't, so I'm not going anywhere until I can get checked in. Okay, everything is going really great so far, except for the fact that I keep forgetting that they drive on the left side of the road here in Japan. Anyway, all Vietnam Airlines business class passengers get complimentary access to the Narita Premier Lounge, which I believe was the old Northwest Airlines lounge way back in the day, which then turned into a Delta Sky Club, and now it's just a generic, general use lounge for all of the airlines here in Terminal 1. It's not that bad, actually. Breakfast was excellent. Parked here at Gate 25 is the Boeing 7879 that is going to be taking me down to Ho Chi Minh City this morning. It's a 9-year-old airplane, and it looks great, even though you can't really see it. The windows here in Terminal 1 aren't the best, but I think you get the idea. I think it's also worth mentioning that even if you don't have lounge access, hanging out here in Terminal 1 isn't all that bad, actually. They've actually improved it a lot since the Northwest Airlines days, and I'm digging this. I was actually enjoying that lounge area so much that I completely missed the call for business class passengers to board. Oh well, I just took a spot in the regular line because I wasn't in a hurry anyway. With only a small carry-on bag and flying business class, it's not like I was going to be competing for overhead bin space. So, here we go. This is my seat, 4K, which is going to look really familiar to anyone who has flown the old Air France 777-300ER business class product. Anyway, business class on the Vietnam Airlines 7879 consists of 28 seats in a typical 1-to-1 layout. As I just mentioned, these are fairly common seats you'll find on many other airlines. There's a nice footrest here, and unfortunately, the legroom or the footwell is blocked a little bit by this little stump thing. I don't know what you call it. But it's a very good-looking seat, very spacious. No surprises here. Except for this amenity kit. I was totally not expecting that for such a relatively short flight, but I'm not going to complain. And not only did it include all of the usual things you would expect, these Feed Me stickers were very much appreciated. I like this. I also quite liked the complimentary slippers and the full-size electrical outlet. It's going to come in handy. And over here on the side panel, you've got a USB port, a remote control, a light, and the seat control panel. They also came by with hot towels and drinks. I passed on the drinks, but the hot towel was nice. And so far, other than the seat itself, this is shaping up to be exactly like my most excellent A350-900 business class experience with Vietnam Airlines several years ago. And that's a good thing. Is it just me, or are these airbag seat belts a little scary? I can't even imagine what it would be like for one of those things to blow up in my lap. But yeah, anyway, let's forget about that because we are on our way. So there was congested airspace around Narita, so we had to sit on the gate about 18 minutes beyond the scheduled pushback time. By the time we got underway, it was 9:48 a.m., which was going to put us into Ho Chi Minh City just a little bit late. Not a big deal, because everything else has been excellent so far, including the fact that I was one of only one or two other people here in business class this morning. So, you know what that means? Service is going to be excellent. Anyway, there is a link to the full taxi and takeoff in the video description below. Check that out if you want to hear the awesome sounds of a Boeing 787 at full throttle. As I mentioned earlier, this was a very empty flight, which I found out later by one of the flight attendants that this flight from Narita to Ho Chi Minh City typically goes out empty. Not always, but usually, which is odd considering that the Ho Chi Minh City to Narita flight is usually full. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, here's that video screen I was talking about. It flips out from the seat panel in front of you. And overall, it's a fairly decent in-flight entertainment product. The selection of content isn't all that great, but these noise-canceling headphones were awesome. Super lightweight, with awesome sound and noise cancellation strong enough to cancel out all of my crunching. With such a light passenger load, they didn't waste any time at all getting the meal service started. First up was an assortment of drinks and the snack that you saw earlier, which was quite tasty. I definitely could have eaten an entire box of that stuff, but it's a good thing that I didn't because the Japanese meal that I selected was excellent. Anyway, this is what they call assorted Japanese delicacies. It didn't look or necessarily taste very Japanese, but it was good. And it was quickly followed up by what they called the Japanese simmered dish. And I gotta be honest, when they put this on my tray, I actually thought it was the main course, and I was a little bit disappointed. It seemed far too small and nowhere near substantial enough to be considered a main course. It was very tasty though. Everything was fresh and well prepared, and I really had no complaints other than size. It was definitely unique, very creative, and overall, as far as business class meals go, I thought it was alright. That is, until they came by with the actual main course. This is the grilled eel and simmered winter melon with Sancho peppered flavor sauce. Now, I have no idea what Sancho pepper is, but it was good, not too spicy, and it was an excellent match with this eel, which was prepared perfectly. Some of the best eel that I've ever had on an airplane, actually. And finally, to end the meal service, they came by with cheese and crackers, with vegetables and fruit. I went heavy on the vegetables, considering how I had just gorged myself on that meal, but all in all, it was good. I was actually thinking that this was going to be my dessert until they brought by the dessert tray. And I had a look at all the options, and I ended up with matcha ice cream with caramel sauce. I was definitely trying to be good, somewhat healthy, and all that stuff, but they just kept bringing food to me, and I couldn't resist. And yeah, the meal on this flight was excellent. The service was excellent. Everything about it was fantastic, except for the amount of food that I had just consumed. It was a lot. With a relatively short flight time of only 5 hours and 40 minutes, My plan was to eat and then sleep. Unfortunately, I ate too much, so here I am in the lavatory giving you an overview of this, I guess, whatever that is. And to be honest, not being able to sleep wasn't all that bad actually, as it gave me lots of time to sit and think about how comparable this was to the A350 business class experience. As I said earlier, it's not any better or any worse, it's just different, that's all. Anyway, even though I was unable to sleep, I figured it might be a good idea to pretend to sleep, at least for the video, so I can show you what the blanket and the lie flat seat is like. It's comfy. I think you're gonna like it. As I begin to wrap this up and to tell you how awesome Vietnam Airlines is, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Scott, you were one of only 2 or 3 passengers in business class on this flight, so of course it was going to be great. And I know that. But if business class was full, I still think it would have been a really great experience. The seat itself was really good. Again, you know, nothing really unique. It's a seat you'll find on many other airlines. And the food was pretty good. Nothing that I would call amazing, but it was just the quantity of it and the way that it was presented is what made it such a great experience. It's something that I'm likely to remember for a very long time, and I'm likely to compare other airlines to this exact experience. And I know just by looking at the video you may not have thought that it looked all that great, but trust me, you had to be there. It was really good. Anyway, it is 1:30 p.m. local time now, and we made up a lot of time in the air, and we are actually making an on-time arrival into Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, so that's pretty cool. Not that I needed to be early or anything, but it's just another thing that made this experience so good. This is actually the first time that I've ever flown into this airport during the day, so it was pretty neat to see the surrounding area and to realize that this airport is literally located in the heart of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. There's city and buildings all the way around, and it's pretty cool. Something else that's really cool about this airport is the high probability of using air stairs to deplane. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but for an airplane enthusiast such as myself, I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to get an up-close look at an airplane from the outside. It's not something I get to do very often. Here I am saying goodbye to that airbag belt, and we have arrived. What an awesome flight. And as I was saying at the beginning of this video, Vietnam Airlines is definitely an airline you need to consider for any trip to Vietnam, or anywhere around Asia for that matter. They're fantastic. Totally underrated in my opinion, so I'm definitely looking forward to flying them again. Hopefully it's going to be sooner rather than later. And yeah, if you have any questions, do be sure to drop them down in the comments section below. I will get to them as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you the next one.